Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, this is the day. This is the day we have the 7th edition of the 254 Realty Expo. My name is Brian Mushiri, coming to you live from the courtyard of the Kenyatta International Convention Centre, that's KICC. Here, we put stakeholders to task because the Big Four agenda is on, and His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has just about 4, 5, give or take 6 months in office. He promised us affordable housing. As you can see on your screens, as it is right now, we have the different key stakeholders in the industry that is building. And this year the theme is making housing affordable. Yes, when you say building a home, at times it becomes a tall order. We have different players from different aspects, from different places in the construction industry, and we are going to be having a fantastic discussion. From there, I could see financiers in the real estate market. I could see those that you can interrogate and speak to on matters architecture. The Architecture Association of Kenya's honorary secretary is here. The principal secretary in the State Department of Housing and Urban Development is also here. His Charles Hinga. We'll be getting to discuss great conversations with him. And of course, this great event has been brought to you by the Nation Media Group. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, as we said, this is an event that has been brought to you by the Nation Media Group. And it's important to state that when His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017 was elected, he told us that he is going to give us the Big Four agenda. It was his legacy project to all Kenyans. I mean, we are 48 million of us, and one of those was affordable housing. Of course, there are other aspects of food security, manufacturing to bring jobs to the young people, and what have you, the universal health care. Today, we put to task and we take stock of the affordable housing project. Right next to me is His Excellency PS in the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, Charles Hinga. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, because we will be having this discussion, I'm going to ask the acting GM commercial at the Nation Media Group, that's Charles Bergray, to make his way here. That's Simon Bergray. A round of applause, please. Yes, please.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's a great morning today. Again, to be witnessing another beautiful experience through the property expo brought to you courtesy of the Nation Media Group. It's always a pleasure to have you and be part of this. I would like to be able to go through a short conversational speech on behalf of the Nation Media Group. I would like to recognize the presence of the PS, Mr. Charles Hinga, State Department of Housing and Urban Development. Year on year, you've supported us, and we are very grateful. We don't take it for granted. We also have other stakeholders in the house. We have AAK represented. We've got Marilyn here, and the chairperson, Mr. Vimal, as well. We'll be hearing from them in the panels, but maybe before I go there, kindly allow me to read through this. So, the PS Housing, Mr. Charles Hinga, State Department of Housing and Urban Development, distinguished panelists and guests, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning. Today marks the 7th edition of the Nation Media Group's Property Expo, dubbed 254 Reality and Home Expo. It is one of the Nation Media Group's flagship partnership initiatives in collaboration with industry stakeholders to create a networking opportunity for the players in this sector, providing insights on property investments, potential home deals, and also learning from industry players, government, and other stakeholders. The Expo offers a platform for players to share best practices and also generate leads on how to tap into new and emerging business and growth opportunities within the sector and beyond. This Expo which runs for 2 days. That's today and tomorrow, today the 4th of March and tomorrow the 5th of March, the year 2022. Is a linkage that brings a whole value chain together, making leads and deals possible for home buyers, property developers, and sellers. The real estate was one of the hardest hit sectors of the economy and negatively impacted by the devastating effects of the COVID-19 that came into our country, or rather happened across the globe at the beginning of the year 2020. And it is on a steady recovery since last year. We look forward to getting more home buyers, sellers, property developers, and investors to come and experience and learn about the new and innovative products and services in the real estate space. Last year, the PS for Housing and Urban Development, whom we are privileged to have here, launched the first 3D printed house with units of 1 to 2 and 3 bedrooms. These and more technologies, including smart houses, are some of the innovative ideas we are going to witness as we move forward in the coming years, among other innovative ideas we see it being displayed here today. We are privileged to have over 50 exhibitors being part of this particular occasion today, and I'm sure you'll get a chance to visit with them and engage them with their various products that they've come here to be able to exhibit. In line with government's commitment to the Big Four agenda, I'll take that again. In line with government's commitment to the Big Four agenda pillar on affordable housing, and in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 11, which calls on the nations to ensure cities and communities are inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. We as Nation Media Group are committed to continue offering more space and creating awareness on the importance of government, private sector, and other stakeholders working together to develop a vibrant and real estate industry. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my pleasure to invite our chief guest, the PS Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Charles Hinker, to give his remarks. Please be upstanding as we welcome him, and to declare this event officially open. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Tuketi. The management of the Nation Media here today, Nation Media Group, organizers of this 7th 254 Realty Expo Conference, exhibitors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm very delighted to be here with you this morning to continue with this conversation that started a few years ago, and which all of us, especially those who have eyes, can see that there is visible progress. We may not be exactly where we wanted to be, but nevertheless, there is a lot of good progress that we have made. And today, an opportunity like here, we come to at least update and appraise the nation on where we are with this particular agenda. So I'm very happy to be here to grace this Realty Expo and Conference hosted by Nation Media Group. The Expo highlights the different trends, products, market outlook, as well as it demystifies what the future holds for the industry. It also provides an opportunity for us to foster and pursue meaningful collaboration and dialogue that enhances the performance of the sector. I commend the organizers, sponsors, exhibitors, and all participants for the time and resources invested in this event to make it a success. My ministry is also represented here to interact and collaborate with you. I have my director for housing, Director Jen, you can just wave and say hello. I have Kaplich, and I'm sure there are others ambao hataki kuonekana na kamera wako huko ndani. I urge you to pass by our exhibition booth. We are also exhibitors, to learn more of what our ministry has achieved since affordable housing program was launched. Provision of affordable housing is an integral part of any government that is keen on realizing the right to adequate housing as enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 and Article 43 1B of our Kenyan Constitution. Our role as the national government is to provide a conducive environment for all of us and all of you as you strive to fulfill your mandate based on your comparative advantage in the provision of affordable housing. The affordable housing program provides a framework for all stakeholders to engage and chart a clear path, which include but are not limited to mobilization of affordable housing finance. And I'm also delighted that soon we shall be hearing from perhaps one of the most audacious achievement and visible achievement that we have had as a country in making sure that there are affordable mortgages in the market. As you will hear later, there's been a lot of focus on you, the individual home buyer. We have empowered you by ensuring that we, for the first time in the history of this country, we have a fixed single-digit mortgage, interest rate mortgage. And I'm sure the CEO, Joe, will be telling you a little bit more. And also tell you that one of the youngest institutions in the country that has already gone to the capital market and borrowed over subscription. And so I think all the ingredients are in place. We are also tapping on innovative construction technologies and material. I think your GM has just talked about the 3D printing house that we launched the other day, which is also EDGE certified. That is IFC EDGE certified for green building. We can see that the cost of construction is coming down because of some of the intervention like VAT exemption, and we shall be talking about that shortly. There's been a lot of legislation that has been either amended, there's new one that has come up, and there are others where there was unintended consequences where we have got what we call misalignment of policy. So all of them are good on a silo basis, but they have an issue when you look at them holistically. So far, what have we achieved? We have done or developed the development framework guideline that gives policy direction towards the implementation of affordable housing program. This is very important because of the 4 big agenda items. This is by far the most complex because the amount of money involved is a lot. Then we have got very complex issues, and you live in this country, issues of land are extremely complex. There are processes, some of you have houses, or some of the financial institutions here have finance houses, and the titles are not ready yet. So we have provided a framework that provides a policy guideline towards the implementation of the affordable housing program. We have also created the Boma Yangu platform for registration of potential home buyers and allocation of houses to those who qualify. So far we have over 325,000 Kenyans that have registered, and we note that there was a slowdown in the registration, after the housing fund got the challenges that we had, but we are still seeing positive registration. So far, we have collected over 1.5 billion shillings from people who are saving 300 shillings a day, 50 shillings a day, and so on and so forth. 1.5 billion shillings, that is what the people have saved. As a matter of fact, we with Park Road, which most of you know about, we had 1,378 units, and out of those 1,378 units, we had over 33,000 people that applied and paid a deposit. So you can see, market is not the problem. The demand is definitely there. As I said, we have established Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company that provides medium to long-term liquidity to mortgage lenders for on-lending to home buyers at affordable fixed rates. For the first time in Kenya, we have mortgages for the affordable housing sector that are below 10%. We are now in the process of integrating several banks and SACCOs into the Boma Yangu platform with the aim of allowing them to have a direct interaction with you and let them know beforehand how much money they can get in mortgages. We completed the first AHP flagship project of Park Road. There are people who are already living there, which comprises of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units that are already occupied. Other affordable housing projects are the ongoing 605 units in Bondeni, Nakuru, 1434 units in Pangani, implemented through NMS, 1,850 in Buxton, Mombasa, 1,800 units at Bachelor's Jivanji, Mukuru, where we have got 15,000 units. We have Stony Athi with National Housing Corporation, where we have started the first phase of the 10,000 unit that we're going to do, and there's a lot more that we are doing. We have done some significant work in creating an enabling environment for the housing sector. We have reviewed policies, legislation, and guidelines, as well as provide several financing and non-financial incentives to catalyze, facilitate, and spur housing delivery across the country. This includes the draft housing bill, which is out for public participation, and the Housing Developers Regulatory Board to protect both the developer and the buyers of the projects. To ensure stakeholder engagement and participation in the affordable housing program, we are continuously identifying strategic partners. We have over 300 strategic partners that we have identified, which include landowners, financiers, private developers, manufacturers of building material, technology providers, and cooperatives, among others, to facilitate mass housing production. The ministry encourages research and innovation in building material and technologies through documentation, dissemination, promotion, and the use of appropriate and alternative building materials and technologies that include locally available technologies such as the Industrial Building System, IBS. We have also identified available industrial building systems, providers, suppliers, and manufacturers to further deepen the utilization and innovation technology in the housing development. All these initiatives are aimed at promoting the affordable housing agenda in our country. I therefore call upon all of us to take time and leverage on the diversity that this forum has presented and forge clear and practical solutions to get this agenda to the next level. I assure you of the government support and goodwill in ensuring that all stakeholders play their respective roles to propel our nation a notch higher in the spirit of partnership. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to engage proactively, share available innovations, and draw concrete and tangible solutions towards making the affordable housing agenda a success. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to officially declare this expo officially open. I thank you.
Indeed, thank you very much, Bwana PS. Perhaps I'll just request that you remain on stage because you're one of my panelists for this great conversation. A round of applause for Bwana PS, tafadhali tena. Maybe you can take your seats on the front right there, and as I introduce my panel guests rather, I will start with the only lady in the discussion. That's the Honorary Secretary of AAK. That's Madam Marilyn Musimi, to just make her way to the front. A round of applause as she makes her way here. Indeed, thank you. Then we will be, again, continuing with this discussion. The PS has been very clear on the finances that are being pumped to this great discussion. And to help us with that discussion, I am going to request Johnston Oltetia, CEO and MD of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, to also make his way here for that discussion. A round of applause, please. Then lastly, because of policy, I am going to request that Mr. Vimal Vagelo, who's the chairman of the Kenya Plastic and Pipe Manufacturers Association, just make his way to the panel as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, lady and gentlemen. Pengine Bwana PS nikupatie fursa upate kopo la maji because of the great job that you're doing. Thank you very much. So, for the purposes of this discussion, we have different stakeholders in this. And for the role of government. Remember, like we continue to reiterate, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has given us the Big Four agenda. And if you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from the Kenyatta International Convention Centre, that's the KICC. We are at the courtyard, and we are just about to start our discussion. We've opened this forum. We have heard from the PS, that's Charles Hinga. And I'll just start with him because he represents government to this conversation. We see housing like Park Road. You've given us the list. How far are we so far with this?
Thank you very much. And in terms of the actual numbers, we have about 224,000 units that have been registered with our National Construction Authority. As you may recall, with the demise of the Housing Fund, which was the outfit that we had come up with to provide bulk housing, because it was supposed to offtake from the developers. We're supposed to be collecting about 9 billion a month from that housing fund. So therefore, we got some speed bumps along the way, and we now ended up focusing our energies on facilitating private developers to put up these houses. And we know private developers have got to register somewhere, and where they register is with the National Construction Authority. So the actual empirical data was, as of October last year, was over 224,000, and we see that there was an investment of about 2.28 trillion shillings that is in the pipeline for the construction of those 228.
Much, Mr. PS, for that remark. Maybe now to drag and bring on board Bwana Johnson Oltetia to the conversation. Remember, he is the CEO and MD of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. And recently, in this past week, we've seen a report by wealth checker, that's Knight Frank, just saying that with the rebound of the economy, we're seeing more Kenyans, and particularly in Nairobi, gaining an appetite to want to own homes. From a financial point of view, are you experiencing this new boom after the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you. So when you look at the need for housing, there has always been demand for housing. I think PS earlier in his opening remarks made reference to the deficits we have in terms of housing, especially when you talk about decent and affordable housing. Now, of course, there was a little lull when COVID hit, to the extent that people were unable to essentially buy homes at the time, because people had to, consider priority. And the priority at that time is health and the basic, certainly the basic needs for food and others. Now, we are now beginning to see a lot more interest, and this may have been facilitated by the now presence of affordable long-term finance that, of course, Kenyans are now beginning to appreciate, which certainly KMRC is facilitating. I think that the PS alluded earlier to the kind of transformative effect that KMRC is bringing to the market, especially in relation to financing. Now, we have supply and we have demand. So both obviously have to talk. So that's why we are saying the need to build significant, affordable long-term funding is essential, but equally important is the need to do the development, the supply of those affordable units. So initially, just direct to your question, yes, we're beginning to see an uptake of homes, and that is essentially because there is now affordable long-term funding that wananchi needs to go into. Just as I close, one of the most important things anyone needs to do is to take a home now. So buy a home now. Don't wait to buy a home. And so when you look at buying a home, the most inefficient way of buying a home is cash. So a mortgage will certainly be one of the most efficient ways of doing, of accessing, a home now. And the reason why it's inefficient to use cash is that if you are genuinely building your cash reserves, it will take you time for you to be able to get the the financing that you'll need essentially to buy that home. But yet, you need that home now. And of course, your age also continues. So the more you need the home now, as opposed to waiting to build the reserve. And that's why it's terribly inefficient to use cash for purposes of buying home. Access affordable long-term funding, which is now available at cheaper rates, and you should be able to own your home immediately.
And indeed, we have heard of the fantastic job that you continue to do at the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. And we will be having more conversations on the same. Now, just to bring the lady into the discussion, this is Madam Marilyn Musimi. She is the Honorary Secretary at the Architectural Association of Kenya. So at what point are you brought to this discussion when we talk about affordable housing?
Thank you so much, Brian. As architects and as professionals, we should be involved in this discussion from the beginning, at the point of conceptualization, at the point where, as a buyer, you realize that I want a home. That is the point when you should engage a professional, because you're able to be advised through avenues of financing, how to acquire property, how to bring on board professionals, and then how to put together that project in a way that it can be executed successfully. When we're talking about the government also, the point to bring professionals on board is when they conceptualize. So, and I thank the government that they have been engaging us, even as they have been going through this affordable housing program. So the point where professionals are brought on board is right at that point where we say we want to do so and so and so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe to bring Mr. Vimal to the discussion, Vimal Vagelo, Chairman, Kenya Plastic and Pipe Manufacturers, and also on the panel just to speak on the policy guidelines and the policy maybe makers. So why, one may ask, from a layman's point of view, why may I need you to this discussion? I mean, it looks fairly straightforward. I intend to buy a home, I look for government, I look for an architect, I pay, and I'm home and dry. Why perhaps require you to this discussion?
Thank you very much, Brian. I believe as a pipe manufacturer, we play a very small role, but very important role. On the low-cost housing and all that, which the government has initiated, if you try and see, the contractors do not really know about the quality of the pipes and all that. A pipe would cost you 50 shillings per meter for hot water, but you will compromise and buy it for probably 40 shillings. Now that 40 shillings, when it leaks, this is where you start having problems, because you have bought that house, you will have to break that wall. Now that 1 meter, you're going to be spending at least minimum of 5,000 shillings. You break that wall, replace the pipe and everything. So yes, on the housing side, we play a very small role, but very, very important role. And the reason I'm saying small role, one unit probably will consume only about 30, 40 pieces of pipes or something of that sort. So yes, it's equally important that we are part of this forum, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. PS, to bring you on board again, you represent government, and we covered you perhaps in the groundbreaking at HACO in Kasarani, and it has risen an eyebrow on several occasions that we are having more private entities working with government closely to come up with this 500,000 units for housing as promised by His Excellency the President. Maybe you could clear the air where a private entity and government perhaps bypassing procurement. How's the agreement there?
Yeah, you had to bring the procurement issue. In fact, one of the blessings of the affordable housing program is that it is being delivered by private sector, where we get away from the crazy procurement murky world. It is not bypassing. It is done by design. And this is because from time immemorial, housing is actually provided by private sector. the challenge that we have had in this country is that the private sector that is providing this housing for the longest have been focusing on the top 3% because they assume those are the only one who can afford and who can pay. And they left 97% of Kenyans to do, to their own elements. And what happened is we have slums come up, and where they have attempted to build homes, you've seen they collapse, and they are badly done. There is no water, there is no sewer. So that is what we are course correcting. So when you talk about course correction, you don't necessarily have to go and pump government money, because we need to be very clear that government has no money of its own. Government has largely two sources of money. It is taxes or borrowing. And on both scores, there is a lot of angst. How much more can we tax our people into this program? How much more can we borrow to put into housing? And then you still have very important agendas that have no commercial value, where government only can be the one that provides those services. So, for example, if it is primary healthcare, if it is primary and secondary education, there is very little commercial flavor, especially for masses. So we have one envelope, and we have to go and compete for those resources. So therefore, it is by design that we wanted the private sector to still provide the housing. What our intention was to give them an incentive so that they stop looking only at the 3% of the so-called the haves, and look at the other 97% as a new class of asset that is attractive, because they are not philanthropists. They are in need to make money. Mr. Plastic here will tell you that he is in need to make a profit. The question is, how do I facilitate him so that he can be able to still make a profit, but be able to deliver the same product and at affordable rate for everybody? So it is by design. So what have we done very quickly? One, where we have got land, because we know land is very expensive in Kenya, government is making that land available at zero cost to you, the homeowner. There are tax incentives, and I want to actually tell you today, as of today, and this is again empirical evidence, we have got 1.9 billion shillings worth of VAT exemption that has actually been provided to the developers. All right? And what does that do? It brings down the cost by another 10%. The land itself will contribute about 40 to 50% in the cost, especially in the major urban areas. There are incentives to you as a homeowner. If you're a first-time homeowner, there is no stamp duties. There is mortgage relief, which is up to 300,000 a year that you're getting, or 25,000 off every month. So there are so many incentives that then government provides. Government also provides policy direction, and that is what has made affordable housing such an attractive asset class. Some of the local developers, the likes of Centum, Technofin, and so on and so forth, that you're seeing that are doing these mass housing, have actually gone and passed a board resolution that they are not going to do the high end again. Because the problem with the high end, and we're not saying don't build for those who have, is that those people, that 3% that you think have money, also tend to live beyond their means. All right? So they're buying houses, and when you go to the banks, and Joe is here, he will tell you, the highest percentage of non-performing loan book is not our ordinary people. These people, they know they have to pay. The first thing they do is to pay for their debts, the mortgage and rent. But at the top there is pressure. Oh, my neighbor has a new car, wacha ninunue nyumba ndalipa baadaye. So by focusing on the affordable housing side, they are seeing that their non-performing loan book is also coming down. So it is not bypassing anything. This has been done by design. And the role of the housing fund was supposed to incentivize them to build in scale without necessarily worrying about who is going to buy the house. Their job was, you build, you finish, we pay you, and then we are left financing the ordinary Kenyan at a rate that matches their pocket. That is what the housing fund was supposed to do. But because we as Kenyans sometimes we allow some busybodies to run to court, apparently on your behalf. And those who are running to court, if you've seen them, some have got 2-3 houses, some live on, they have beach properties, some have ranches, and they are representing you. So at some point also, because you're the majority, you need to also run to court and say, no, these people don't represent me. Because Park Road there, it is not President Kenyatta who is there, it is not Joel Tetia, it's not Hinga who is the owner there. That is the ordinary, that's the face of Kenya that is living there. We have Juakali artisans that are living there. When you go to Moke Gardens, whatever they are building for the ordinary face of Kenya. It's not for our wengine. Kwa hivyo, it is by design that we wanted to facilitate the same people who are making those houses, but now focus on where the majority are. I know it's very wordy, but I hope it is as comprehensive.
Yes, very comprehensive. Thank you very much. Marilyn, right next to me, PS has been very categorical on the roles. So I have the role of government is to give the common wananchi affordable housing. In this whole project of 500,000 units of affordable housing, architectures, your role, other than that, just what we know as maybe designing a house as it is.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. So the role of architects in this whole process has been to advise, number one, and then obviously to design. An architect is the first point of call when you're conceptualizing a living space. So the architect will actually put the spaces together, and it's not just about the space, it's also about the other infrastructure around these spaces. So we advise, is there enough room, for example, for parking? Is there enough room to provide for other facilities such as schools, hospitals? Because housing is not standalone. It needs to come with all these other things that go with living as a family, living as a community. So our role is that of advice and of design primarily. Thank you very much.
Okay, appreciated. Maybe to bring Mr. Olteche to the discussion again, PS has been, again, very categorical on the cost of land in the capital particularly is off the roof, really. I think I can remember one of PS saying that in 1980, an acre in Upper Hill was 40,000. And right now, you cannot even mention the rate of an acre or even a quarter acre in Upper Hill. Bwana Oltetia, the mortgages that Kenyans are taking, I mean, it seems very mellow. Do you think the cost of land is a big aspect as to why Kenyans are not very loud on taking up mortgages?
So when you look at the financing of a home, you obviously have to recognize that there are costs that come with that. And I think the PS has enumerated how government is providing that kind of support. So land certainly is a cost. It contributes about 20 to 30% of the cost of a home. If it's a lot higher, of course, then that would be 20 to 40% of the cost of a home. And that also comes with the horizontal infrastructure that certainly will need to inform that cost. Now, when you look at financing, it takes care of all that. So when you provide financing, you will already have indicated what are the costs of that property. And that also has something to do with other incidental costs, like legal fees, valuation, charges and things like that. That is all part of the cost of the land. Now, when you come to financing, and maybe even before I go into that, so we have already heard that government has provided a lot of subsidies, and that includes even contributing government land for purposes of development. And that is essentially part of bringing the cost of these homes down, so that when you have government providing land, potentially providing the horizontal infrastructure, then you reduce the cost of that home by about 30 to 40%. And that is very, very important because that is what creates that affordability. Now, when you also support by providing long-term funding with lower rates, then you reduce the cost even further. Because when you look at the cost of a financing instrument, like for example lending, the costs are mainly driven by two factors. Number one is certainly the tenor or the length at which you're going to repay that loan. The longer, the more affordable; the shorter, the more expensive it is. And that's why KMRC is providing long-term, 20-25-year money, so that it reduces that cost significantly. The other key factor is the rate at which you are lending. Now, financial institutions, of course, will consider a risk when they're extending financing to you. And that is essentially what contributes to that cost. Now, we have seen for the longest time in this country, costs being 13, 14, at some point a couple of years back was even hitting 18%. And that is very, very significant. Now, we are in fact, we have now seen single-digit interest rates for purposes of housing. A single digit certainly is below 10% of that cost. Now, when you combine those two factors, which are the most significant contributors to that, the cost of financing, you then essentially see a significant reduction of the cost of financing for your home. And when you add the earlier costs, the subsidization, the land, and even the kind of efficiencies that are now being brought into provision of titling and things like that, because you begin to see titling being digitized and a number of other efficiencies have been brought in, then that creates a very significant cost reduction. And that's why we are talking about now people accessing home finance, and they are paying as if they are paying rent. Because essentially that's exactly what we are doing now. Your rent equals your home ownership repayment. And that's exactly what intervention KMRC has brought.
And just remaining on you, are you experiencing the challenges that one may argue of, unajua mortgage ni deni, kwa hivyo kwa nini unachukua mortgage? Are you experiencing that old man's mentality of mortgage ni deni, tuambiane ukweli? Are you still experiencing that?
So, for the longest time, a mortgage have had a very bad name. And that is because of historical reasons. In the past, we've had situations where the rates were hitting the roof, and the rates we are talking about here, because they were all floating rates. So financial institutions adjust, or banks adjust the rates from time to time, depending on the circumstances. But now we have fixed rates. So that means you'll be able to see what you're going to repay now is equal to what you're going to repay in 20 years. And therefore, if your circumstances improve over time, you can imagine that will be now additional funding for you to use for other purposes. But when you go back to a mortgage, it had a very bad name because of foreclosures in the past. Of course, when banks want, you run into a default because potentially there's a significant shift in the rate, and you may have borrowed within, when you didn't have a lot of room, should rates increase, and that creates a default. Now, that creates a very bad name for a mortgage, because of course a bank will have to get back its money, and that certainly creates a very bad situation. But now that is not going to happen again, because you're getting fixed rates, and as long as you continue to have an income, you will be able to repay, because the rate at which you are paying is similar now as it will be in 5 years, 10 years, and that kind of thing, and therefore will also potentially clean the name mortgage. But what you look at is financing. We're calling home finance. And because of that kind of intervention, that you are unlikely to experience a situation where you will default because the rates have shifted, have increased, then that means you are very safe now to borrow for purposes of home ownership.
Okay, thank you very much for clearing the air on that. To Mr. Vimal and Madam Musimi, maybe I could start with Vimal. COP26 last year came to an end. We recently had the United Nations Environment Assembly coming to a conclusion on the 2nd. The discussion really was on the bigger discussion is on getting to net zero, that's right. As it is right now, we are distanced from there. So as manufacturers, what do you have to get to net zero as far as pollution is concerned?
I think since one PS has already told me, Mr. Plastic, I will. Yes, there is a huge war, you can say, from UN side, but at the same time, there are criteria if the manufacturer follows closely and having recycling plants and all that, which I think in the past 2 years, there are very many recycling plants, even in-house recycling we have. So as long as it's processed well and it's not littered, I think we are still safe. In terms of plastic, we cannot do away. It's going to be part and parcel of our life. As the manufacturing sector, yes, there's been immense growth supporting the Big Four agenda. Manufacturing has expanded twofolds, threefolds in support of housing, water sector and all that. So yes, plastic is here to stay. It's a better quality in comparison to concrete or galvanized pipe or anything of that sort. So no matter how much pressure UN is going to give, but as long as the systems are going to be in place, I think we should be okay. Thank you.
Madam Musimi, right next to me, your take, because again at the UN, there's concerted effort, volume on let's have green housing. At least if I have a home, allow me to have a small garden. That brings in the aspect of space from a designer's point of view as an architect. What say you?
Thank you. I'll start by saying that green building is not as complex as it sounds. It's just about being sustainable. That am I using the least resources to execute this project that I could? Am I getting materials from as near as possible as I could, yeah? Instead of getting your stone from, getting coral from Mombasa to come and execute a project in Nairobi, why not get something closer, maybe from Darugo, yeah? So the embodied energy, how much energy has been used to produce the materials that are going to be used in my project? How much am I consuming? How much electricity is my project consuming? How much water is my project consuming? That is what green building is about, that you're consuming less and less, that you're able to recycle more if it is water, that you're able to make use of renewable resources, for example, solar or wind power, instead of relying on electricity that is generated from the grid, for example. So when we talk about green building, as an association, as Architectural Association of Kenya, 6 months ago we launched a local tool for trying to rate buildings. It's called the Safari Green Building Index. So we're able to look at how green is my building and advise you on more ways that you can make it green. We are also working in collaboration with the IFC, who are the authors of, as PS mentioned, EDGE certification, where we check, we advise our clients on how to green their buildings. So green building is not as far off as it would sound. It's very simple, that if I wash my dishes, what do I do with that water? Can I use it maybe to irrigate my kitchen garden? So it is possible, and I encourage all of us to move in that direction.
Maybe to bring Bona PS, because he's been fairly silent on the panel, to the discussion. She's mentioned something on index. Let's talk about land valuation index, because it's a whole fight there. Those that sell land do not want it to happen because it will make them not make a kill. Because indeed in this country, when you sell a piece of land, you're home and dry for the rest of your life. Please give a comment on that.
Yeah, it's not just the land index. There's a lot of topical issues around the land conversation. Even the issue of just subdivision of land, especially when you're seeing this in the rural areas. part of the reason why we are having food shortage is because we have taken arable land and we have subdivided it into broti, because we have this love for plots. So, but to first of all tackle the issue of the land value index, that is something that has to happen. There's a lot of resistance, of course, from the main landowners, but think about it. And I gave this example just here in KICC the day before yesterday when I was attending PIDA. If we take the case study of Thika Road, Thika Road is a 40-year loan that we got from Africa Development Bank. When we put that infrastructure, which we were all very proud of, it is one of the most significant and visible infrastructural projects by President Kibaki's regime. What happened to the value, the value of land adjacent to that infrastructure? It shot off the roof. In fact, I think it was Haas Consulting that had shown that in 2007, an acre of land around that area before we constructed Thika Road was about 2 million. As of last year, it's already shot up to 25 million an acre. Now, the challenge that we have, and maybe this is where we need to, when we're improving even as government in terms of planning, is when we focused on the black surface, we didn't even buy or land bank ourselves for future use. But what happened? There is significant amount of development that has happened around that area. And because of that, we still have to provide services. So the other day, in Ruiru, we built a huge sewer pond. But I have to go buy land at 10 times the prices that we actually as government, because we are the one who took the loan, we are the one who actually beneficiated that land to go up by that value. And what we are finding is that the cost of even delivering infrastructure is just absolutely insane because of the prices of land. Now, to make matters worse, we have not perfected, or we are using very antiquated and pre-colonial laws, for example, on the valuation. I don't know how many countries in the world are still using what we call an improved site valuation. When you go here to Upper Hill has, we spoke about it 2018.
Yes.
40,000 shillings an acre. Now it's over 1 billion an acre. But go and find out how much rates they are paying there. They're still paying 500 shillings, how much, and you understand. So this conversation is a conversation that we must have. And so there needs to be two aspects to it. We either need to come up with what we call land value capture, so that we can significantly be able to fund some of these development projects from the value that has increased. So it's a very topical issue. It's a very emotive issue. We have just done the valuation for Nairobi now. The last time we did it was 1980, as I said. We did one in 2019. And by law, we're supposed to do it every 10 years. So we haven't done. And so what you're going to find is that there's going to be a lot of noise in the market, because people are going to say, oh, now the cost of living has gone up because of all this. But the only way we're going to be able to provide the services that you deserve is by capturing that value. So this is a double-edged sword conversation that we must have. And of course, as I've said, we need to have a serious national dialogue about the issue of rural housing and the issue of subdivision, inheritance. We keep on subdividing land to points whereby we are going to have, in the future, we're going to have serious food shortage because of the way we have subdivided the land. So this is a topic, I think maybe next year, Expo. I'm not sure, you know me, my term is tied to the president, so I'm not sure I'm going to be PS. So maybe next year you need to zero around land, because that is, it has a lot of issues. Okay. But again, we have made significant changes. But go to countries that were able to address the issue of affordability, those issues like land value index, are part and parcel of their lives. We also tax idle land, because one of the things that we are doing here is we buy land speculatively.
Yes.
You just buy land because you know in 10 years' time it will be 40 times the value. So we are not releasing the land for development. So the values are just going up. So it is, the whole land regime is something that needs a day on its own. And I'm sure everybody in this panel here, maybe some of them are offended because they are also chasing broti.
Thank you. And Mwanapias, briefly, because I need to be out in about 3 minutes. You're in government and you represent government, and His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta's time comes to an end in 5 months. What does this mean for all these projects that you have in the housing sector? Briefly, as you answer that.
We have anchored this program on solid ground. And that's one of the things that is very encouraging, is that the affordable housing is something that is going to be here with us to stay. It is anchored in law. It is anchored, the way it's been designed, it is an attractive asset class. If you look at things like now we are allowing you to withdraw your pension so that you can buy a home, there is significant changes that nobody is going to reverse them. So the only way is we can only go up. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to request for final remarks, because I am really out of time, and remember we are on air. Mr. Vimal, your final remarks, because you'll be sitting on the next panel coming up at 10:45. Your final remarks as you sit on this panel, for starters.
We will require definitely a lot of support from the PS in terms of importation of substandard. That is one. Number two, local manufacturing initiative, which the manufacturers have taken. My voice to all basically, and to UPS, is if you can also hammer down on quality, because this is one of the challenges the local manufacturer is facing. Since importation, there is no quality check, there is a lot of substandard as well floating in the market. Naturally, the housing sector will be suffering despite, I don't know, warranties been given for 6 months, 1 year, but the landowner, the house owner rather, would be suffering on repairs and all that after 6 months, maybe after 1 year as well. So we want you to emphasize very, very strongly a quality product, and maybe emphasize on heavy penalties for the substandard manufacturer or substandard importer. Thank you.
Mr. Altetia, just to request for your final remarks, but as I give you that chance, you recently had a 1.4 billion shilling bond, and I'm reading from the Business Daily. It goes ahead to say, because it has some very unique ways of paying back that we are not used to, the impacts of it. Let me just read from the Business Daily. Goes ahead here to say that the security has a tenure of 7 years, but investors will be receiving both interest and part of their principal every 6 months. This means that the bond will on average remain outstanding for 4.5 years. That's a very unique way of handling things. We've not seen that in the market yet, or quite as such. Briefly, what does this new bond that you floated into the market mean to you and KMRC, the features that it has, and your final remarks, kindly?
Thank you. It means transformation. So we are not going to do business as usual, and that's why we are transforming, including how we raise financing in our market. The impact is certainly going to be significant, and that's the reason why, and I think as alluded by the CPS earlier, we are building sustainability, and for purposes of doing that, we have to identify sustainable sources of funding, and capital markets in most cases is a sustainable source of funds. Now, we decided to go to the market for a 7-year bond, and of course the critical thing we had to look at is the pricing of that bond. Pricing of bonds is usually benchmarked against a government instrument of an equal nature. And that's exactly what we did against a treasury bond of 5 years. But we decided to amortize the bond to make it a lot more attractive to invest.
the First Lady.
Look, you can't talk about something you don't know.
Excuse me?
Yes, you don't know my family. You don't have any idea of who we are. So please, don't talk.
Well, yes, you're right. I don't know your people. But what I know for sure is that your dad is not a child. Nobody made him take that strategy.
Please, you were the one who made that decision. You decided it, and I respect that. So please understand that the next time you come here, I won't be here.
But what do you mean? Why?
Because I don't want to see you.
Well, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy fruit.
Hi, my name is Paris Mukoko Wanyaga. I am current. I serve.
This is NTV.
Projects. Whatever you intend to do, have a professional work with you. It'll save you money, it'll save you time, and it'll give you a stellar project. Thank you.
Bona PS, everyone on this panel seems to call you like some sort of a father. When Vimal said, he said, PS, do this for us. Mr. Oltetia had something for government. Madam Msimbi here has something for government. Your government now, your final remarks as you go and meet our father, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Probably the youngest father on stage here. So first of all, for me, I just want to say it has been a remarkable journey. We took a program that, had a lot of challenges, both on the supply side and on the demand side. We've worked tirelessly to ensure that this is not just another campaign, rhetoric. It is a reality. Today, when I look at a project like Park Road, that has the entire face of Kenya living in there. When I look at that Juakali artisan that made the door, and 55 of them are new homeowners in Park Road, that, although this is a very tough job, makes it probably one of the most rewarding. Government have very important role to play in the society. But I believe the most important role that government plays is policy and setting the right tone to focus on certain things. This government has made the right policy as far as affordable housing is concerned. We are not yet where we want to be, but I believe that we will accelerate and we will not move backwards. I want to address a very specific category, which is employers. Employers, by law, you're supposed to provide housing to your staff. Section 33 of the Employment Act. It is very clear that you're supposed to provide housing to your employees. And that is part of what we're trying to do with the housing fund. You don't need to wait for the housing fund to come back. Start providing housing. Na musifanye hii ukarabati ya kusema, your salary is, cost to company, everything include housing. Hapana. Assist your employees to get housing close to where they work. That is what the law says. And to you, my fellow Kenyan, never before have you seen in this country mortgages like we have spoken about today. Those are all designed for you. A government that has gone and borrowed cheap money and has on-lent that money to banks so that you can be able to get an affordable mortgage. Government that is providing land at no cost to you so that you can be a homeowner. It is now your responsibility to register yourself, to go to your bank, to go to your SACCO, get a mortgage, and approach all these many developments. Forget about, it's not just the Park Roads and the Pangani. There are so many developments that are there for 40 units, 50 units. All those are affordable. Go get yourself a home and get yourself an affordable mortgage. And while at it, if you have a pension, don't wait until you retire for you to go and buy a home. Withdraw your cash now. You can withdraw up to 40% to buy a finished unit. So it's been a great pleasure being part of this journey with you. I look forward to having this interaction with Kenyans, but I believe that affordable housing is anchored on solid ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bona PS, and thank you very much at large to my panel. It's been very interactive right here at the KICC. Remember, we are coming to you live from the Kenyatta International Convention Centre. This is the 7th edition of the 254 Realty Expo and Conference. We are here all day and tomorrow. So if you're thinking of interacting with different players in the market, in the sector, this is definitely the place to be. We take a quick break on NTV. When we come back, I have another panel. Mr. Vimal Bagela, who's the chairman of the Kenya Plastics and Pipe Manufacturers, is going to remain on the panel. And then I have Mr. Ken Mugo, Chief Executive Officer, Mahiga Homes Limited, Miss Winnie Gitao, Chief Executive Officer, Kwangu Kwako, and lastly, Mr. Rakesh Rao, Chief Executive Officer, Crown Paints. Keep it NTV. We are coming to you live from the KICC once again after this short break.
This is NTV.
The First Lady.
Look, you can't talk about something you don't know.
Excuse me?
Yes, you don't know my family. You don't have any idea of who we are. So please, don't talk.
Well, yes, you're right. I don't know your people. But what I know for sure is that your dad is not a child. Nobody made him take that strategy.
Please. You were the one who made that decision. You decided it, and I respect that. So please understand that the next time you come here, I won't be here.
But what do you mean? Why?
Because I don't want to see you.
Well, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy.
Experiencing Prophet Elvis, his gift of prophecy, hearing it and experiencing how detailed and spot on he was or is in all these different areas, it was mind-blowing to me.
And your boy DJ E, I take care of the music. And of course, Umbiamono, Osoro Kale on social media, Twitter, Umbiamono.
Social media hosted by your girl Amina Abdirabah. We cannot wait to have you 10 p.m. on NTV.
Experiencing Prophet Elvis, his gift of prophecy, hearing it and experiencing how detailed and spot on he was or is in all these different areas, it was mind-blowing to me.
Get the latest and credible news on the general elections. Subscribe to the Daily Nation Election News. Send the word election to 20688 and stay informed on coalitions, defections, resignations, election candidates, and many more. Daily Nation. The truth.
Her milestones will come, but delayed. So as her siblings, when we were walking, we would push her to walk. When we were playing, we'd push her to play with us.
When you hear people saying certain things, even what your sister has shared, how would that affect you? Hukujua kabisa? Wow. You guys shielded her?
Completely.
Wow.
She was so protected. She practically lived in a micro heaven.
Get peace of mind and protect the ones you love with the power of Dettol Bar Soap. It cleans and protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So no matter what type of mum you are, trust Dettol.
He's a corporal in the British Army, the chair of an association of Kenyan veteran and serving members of Her Majesty's Forces, and a part-time DJ with his own entertainment company.
My desire has always been to join the military. Na hii ni kitu ilitoka from since I was in primary school.
Yes, this Saturday, Corporal Kisila Mawia gears up to share his experience on the front lines.
Nimeenda Canada, nimeenda France, Afghanistan, nimekuwa Germany itself.
Only on NTV.
This is NTV.
Indeed. Thank you very much once again for joining us on this other end of the discussion. This is the 7th edition of the 254 Realty Expo and Conference right here at the Kenyatta International Convention Centre. That's the KICC. We've had the first segment. We've spoken to PS Charles Hinga of the State Department for Housing and Development. On this other panel, we are going to be speaking to the suppliers of construction material, developers of this great journey that His Excellency the President promised us to walk with us and give us 500,000 housing units. Thank you very much. A round of applause, please, for those that are in. Allow me to maybe start with the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Rakesh Rao of Crown Paints. Maybe we can start up this discussion on, so government was here. As developers, are you feeling their impact towards the greater good of creating and giving services to your people?
Hello? Yeah. I think yes, I've been, morning everyone. Definitely I think we have been a couple of projects which we've been following with us, my team is following, and we are very keen to work and execute. There's a feel of the market that there are a lot of projects have been quoted to us, and we can see, I don't know, so far we have not been able to back those orders because cost is also a matter that if you look at the last particular 2 years, one of the most difficult years for all industries, all manufacturers, where cost of raw materials and freight gone up by 50-60%. You must have seen a couple of my media interview that yes, it's been crazy for all industries because of COVID was hitting every industries. Supply chain was completely disrupted. There was no supply chain. We were suffering for getting even raw materials for our factory to run. So we have a lot of challenges last 2 years, and the cost of raw materials and freight has gone up significantly by 50-60%. And that's one of the biggest challenge which we have to run the industry at the moment as far as paint manufacturing is concerned. And suddenly last 2 years, demand of paint has gone up because most of the people are working from home. And everyone like to decor the home. So worldwide demand has exponentially gone up by 15-20%. So the supply of raw material and demand could not match. So that's the reason that most of the cost has gone up. But as a Crown, we are responsible social company, being listed companies, we are very keen to help Kenyans to fulfill their dreams, to make sure that they can be a part of this affordable housings and they can own the house. Because I know as my more than 1,200 people working for me, or maybe 5% people have a own house, and most of people are been on a rented house. So I think it's my dream that most of my employees should have housing. And same thing, I pray for all Kenyans should have a house. I mean, yeah, as far as business is concerned, I'm not sure about it that I can able to give you that 100% answer, but we're likely to get all the project is on. We're likely to paint those buildings maybe this year or next year. Yeah.
Maybe to the lady in the panel, Chief Executive Officer Kwangu Kwako, Ms. Winnie Gitao, what he's talking about over the past 2 years, the global pandemic that we'll be facing, and we continue to face it, by the way. Have you felt from where you sit the impact of the pandemic as far as home ownership is concerned?
I am going to respond to that question in a different way. I am wearing two shoes as an entrepreneur who does development. My company is called Kwangu Kwako Limited. We manufacture precast concrete panels and fabricate metal components in order to build homes as well as schools. I also wear the shoes of being in a private sector, okay? So in as much as we are talking about home ownership or referring to affordable housing, like everybody has to own a home, or that is the only way that affordable housing is looked at, is not affordable housing also encompasses people in the rental market. So private investors, I always say when I say a private investor, for me, it is a middle-class Kenyan. This is a middle-class Kenyan who has a land and has their own, or they already have their own mortgage, and they want to provide for other Kenyans who cannot afford a truly affordable, decent, and actually something applicable. They like it. It is aesthetically appealing. This is a person I'm calling a developer an investor, a private investor, a normal Kenyan. So when it comes to COVID, yes, these people, we felt it. They provided housing because people downgraded, or they were looking for how to best use their little amount they had, and they didn't want to use it or to buy something very cheap and it's not very nice looking. So they actually trying to help Kenyans who need the rental that is nice and accommodating. So yes, the uptick was really, really great in a wrong way, but it was great because they were doing something good.
Ken Mugo, right next to me, Chief Executive Officer Mahiga Homes. Let's have this discussion because I've spoken to them and they've said the global pandemic indeed did have an impact. For you, as where you sit, did you feel it?
Thank you so much. I'll say Mahiga Homes, we have like 3 products. We have off-plan, mid-plan, and ready houses. I'll tell you that the section of off-plan and mid-plan, we were greatly affected because anyone who had savings or had bought a house with us, they immediately stopped paying. So most of the sites almost came to a standstill, and it really took a great intervention. Like we had to discuss with the client, how much can you be able to afford to pay from this time, maybe for a period of the next 10 to 12 months. And you see now, discussing of the extension of payment and considering the fact that the cost of building materials is never fixed. It keeps on changing every now and then. Like for example, a week ago, a D8 was going for around 550. Today, this morning, I can assure you that D8 is going for 670 in a week's time. That's a very big change. Cement, we were purchasing at around 530. Today, we are purchasing the cement at 600. You see, there's a very huge difference that we allowed someone to extend the payment, and for us as a developer, and we are not going to change the price, the purchase price. So I'll say we were greatly affected. But things are looking up. As much as materials are going high, there is a good demand for houses. Thank you.
Right, at the outside of the panel, Mr. Vimal, at least thank you very much for rejoining us to this panel. Question, you put across the aspect of counterfeit, and Mr. Rakesh, I'll also give you a chance to have a word on this. Counterfeits, how deep is it rooted in the sector?
Thank you, Brian. Yes, we are really having a challenge on counterfeits. To make it worse, most of the manufacturing sector, because of the Big Four agenda, we have expanded quite a bit on our facilities and all that on manufacturing. Since the manufacturing unit has the know-how about the systems and all that, the technology, when importation is being allowed, which are fake products, having fake certifications and all that. Basically, in a house, in a single unit, when something starts leaking, they start blaming the manufacturer, but it's generally not the manufacturer, but it would be probably some of the fittings being used, which are imported, which have actually created a problem. So we, as KEPMA, have been working very much hand in hand with Kenya Bureau of Standards as well. And we're trying to stop this, but it's been very, very difficult. So probably as we sit here in this panel, and if my voice is going to be heard, cabs really needs to pull up their socks, because there was a time cabs was very, very aggressive. We had collected a lot of substandard products from the market, from the manufacturers as well. But of late, I think there is too much of laxity. So that's the reason it's giving an added advantage to the importers to bring in this substandard, and the local manufacturers have also started following the same route on manufacturing of substandard, because the cheaper, they will be able to sell more. And the other thing is, if you look at on the manufacturing side, we have oversupply than the demand. So yes, if these things are put in place, then we should be able to curb this problem once and for all.
Rakesh, your take on counterfeits?
We have two products. One is premium categories, and one is economic categories. So as far as economics category is concerned, I don't think that because we have cut down our price by 15-20%, so there's chances of counterfeit, because counterfeit guy do not get any benefit out of that to make the product affordable to the all categories. But as the premium is concerned, of course we have a challenge on various sites. We find when we get complaints that what happened, why Crown's products is not performing and how it look like. And when we went into the details and found that it was been repacked of substandard materials. So I think because the way I feel there's no law, is a lot of relaxation in case someone is caught in counterfeit. Nothing will happen, he will get bail immediately. And there's no strict rules has been imposed, no governance is imposed. So I think people here freely do the counterfeit. So we have a challenge, a very serious challenge on the product range, particularly on various sites. Not at homeowner, because homeowners generally they know how to buy a product and they buy from the trusted shops. But as far as the site is concerned, we have a lot of challenges, and till the government do not put a very strong measures to curb it, we'll have challenges on that. Yeah.
And as we, continue with this discussion, allow me to bring in, again, Winnie to the discussion. Innovation, how deep-rooted are we as it stands with innovation? Are you getting any assistance from stakeholders, from government, from policymakers? Are we, the citizens and the people that you intend to serve, are we taking up innovation?
That is putting me on the spot. Yeah, okay, when it comes to innovations, I think entrepreneurs have really tried, as Kenyans are. People are hustlers, so they had affordable housing, and they're doing a lot of work, whether it is hollow box, whether it is fire and beam, or whatever, fire blocks, and we are doing precast concrete. There's even start somewhere. Actually, we have very many entrepreneurs doing great job in terms of new technologies, making sure they actually reduce construction materials in terms of products. But the uptake in Kenyans, that is a drama. It's like Kenyans have this perception, it has to be stone. If it is not a stone, it is therefore not a house. And then on the flip side, you start complaining, you cannot afford a house. What is it you want? People are making sure that there are other avenues that you can use. I mean, we used to use thatched roof, we used to use metal, wood, all of them. Is it possible for Kenyans to actually accept that you can have a house made of different technologies at the same time? You can have precast, you can have stone, or you can have stone as well as have timber on some of the walling. That one will reduce the cost of your house. It will still look like your multi-million house, but it's still okay, okay? On the aspect when it comes to the legal part, we do affordable housing. As in my unit, a bed-sitter will cost you about a bed-sitter is about 316,000. That is all of it, including doors, windows, yada, yada, yada. It will cost you that cheap. But I'm telling you, for a project of about, because we have to submit plans like any other house, I go to submit that plan in the city council or Nairobi Cosmopolitan. And what I pay for my plan, it's the same amount that the person building using a stone is going to pay for. So half the time I'm usually looking at that person and they're like, madam, nakuelewa kabisa, lakini vile imeandikwa ndio lazima nifanye. So you are caught in the middle of, you want to provide affordable housing, but I need somebody also to look at it at a different pair of eyes. Is there a way that you can actually consider other technologies and make us also take us into consideration when you're doing your permits and things like that? Make them a bit better. However, we have to still use engineers who are doing a very good job. The architects are doing a very good job, because they're the ones who are saying, by the way, this is not load bearing, this is load bearing, this is how you need to put this is how you need to do A, B, C, D. So for us, it is always a balance.
Can innovation as an aspect, you face a lot of challenges, because now Kenyans are very loud on, I don't want to buy a house off plan now because I've seen what the sector has gone through. What's your take on this?
Allow me to answer it in this way. One, there are so many talents and innovations out there, but one, there's no platform for them to display what they have. Then Kenyans, I would say Kenyans, but human beings have that tendency that if something is made locally, it is of cheap quality, which is a very, very bad mentality, because we don't give our own people a chance to grow. So I would say, and when you decide to engage people who have the knowledge, it is very, very expensive and doesn't make the house any more affordable. So I would wish each and every one of us to embrace what we have and offer like jobs to those people who are putting forward those innovations.
Thank you very much. Let me just rebuttal it to you, because off-plan has been fought, literally, because we've seen lots and lots of people maybe even lose money. So what is the direction now? Because clearly, I don't want to get myself in a situation where I stand a very high chance of losing my money.
Okay, in terms of, I'll say each and every industry has its own, I don't want to mention madness, but that is the truth, because people get into business for different reasons. If you are getting into constructions thinking that it's all about money, I have news for you. It's not all about money. And that's where you have found so many developers, they have collapsed because they got into it, and you are just like 1 year old and you want to be living like a person who has been there for 10 years. one thing I will say, do a thorough background check on the developer. For example, if a developer has done like 10 projects, none of them has been delivered, why would you go trusting that company and put your money there? So, and about the developers, I don't know what the government can do to regulate the kind of people getting into this business. Finally, once you have decided to buy a home, it is very important to check your finances, because most of these projects, they stall because customers are unable to continue their payment, and they keep on promising the developer, give me a month, I'll pay. Give me another month, I'll pay. And you'll find in like 6 months, this person hasn't paid anything. So the project will stall because the other customers who have paid, they will not be seeing great progress in the same projects.
Vimal, the aspect of it being locally made makes it very expensive. Can I maybe look to import, even if I'll keep redoing it every now and then, particularly even for the steel and plastic also?
I think that's the perception, that if it's locally manufactured, it's going to be expensive. No, it's going to be much more cheaper, viable as well. Definitely as local manufacturing, if there is any quality issue, you can definitely revert back, claim, and you can also ask for the quality certificates. Now, with importation, if there is a quality issue, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to claim anything. The developer definitely is going to be suffering because he's not going to get his claims from Europe or China or wherever, or India. And even if they do, it's going to be just a small nominal amount. But yes, the developer will keep suffering. But in real sense, I think in Kenya, we are the biggest exporter. We have the manufacturing setups here for various kinds of products. As technology evolves, modernization evolves, I think we do have the know-how here. Everything is available in Kenya, but yet we tend to go out, get some cheap stuff, just to save here and there, few shillings. But it's, in the long run, it's going to be very expensive for the homeowner himself, because he's going to end up repairing. And as my colleagues have just said, that probably a person who has shifted in that house and he's still paying the mortgage, imagine the cost of repairs he will incur on probably bi-monthly. So that's going to be another hit. So I strongly suggest that, or for the local manufacturers, if you have any doubt, ask for the quality certificates, ask for the warranties. If there is any problem, ensure that you have claimed, not for that pipe or not for that fitting or anything of that sort, but you have claimed for the entire repair you have done. You know, right now we just let it go. Most of the developers, contractors, plumbers, they let it go with just replacement of a pipe or a fitting. Let them pay for the entire cementing, everything. And I'm sure once we speak to, our voice is heard with Kenya Bureau of Standards, and if they are going to implement a stronger strategy, it will definitely work. And our neighboring country, if you look at Rwanda, you can't take this nonsense at all over there. You'll be screwed. And in Kenya, you know, we have all corners cut, and we get away with everything. So here in Kenya, we really need to improve through the government, through our standards and everything, and we need to be very, very strict on our implementations. Thank you.
Ms. Winnie Gitao, the argument again, and let me just rebuttal to you. When you have a product that's not very well understood in the market, give or take, allow me to drop the name, Kwangu Kwako, not very well understood in the market, the argument is, from a government's point of view, you're making ridiculous amounts of profit. What's your take on this? Because many say, because you do not know what it entails, indeed, there's a chance these guys could be making a lot of money.
That argument is so wrong. because we are a social enterprise. It's not exactly a business just based in making profit. And being a new, like you said, it's a new technology, a lot of things have to be examined, and all the materials have to be tested over and over and over again. And you need actually to all the time sort of have to justify your existence because somebody doesn't trust what you're doing and they have to come jump on your wall and you're like, it's concrete, you're going to break your shoulder. But somebody is not looking at it that way. But we have to always be on guard that it's not profit we're looking for, it is for quality. Everything we do and everything we buy, it is in Kenya. So like he says, Kenya has very good products. We just have to know where to get them and always check and then check again. Us being also manufacturers as well as constructors, we are the whole value chain. So whatever we put on you, we know how we do it, and we are responsible for that whole chain. So at the very end, the profit margin is not exactly that big.
Thank you for clearing that out. Mr. Rakesh, again, because Vimal is very loud again, Winnie is also very loud on quality. And from a third party's point of view, as a young person, as a regular citizen, I asked him, and I would love you also to say something on that. What if I could just choose and go abroad and bring my paint and do my thing? Again, for you, why need to have it here?
Okay, you can go and buy, it's not a problem, but then your pocket will bleed. See, generally what happens is, there are two aspects I would like to answer in this way. Please understand that Kenya, we have 45 million people and many raw materials are being imported here. If you look at the worldwide big market like China, India, they all have access to many other direct material without paying duty or because the manufacturers are sitting there. And they invest huge in plant and technologies, and so definitely sometimes their product, the cost has been cheaper, particularly the China way the China invest in the infrastructures and the product and making the products cheaper, and then they send it to us. So I'm not saying that sometimes every time the imported products are cheaper can be good quality, but what I would like to say that to support Kenyan industry, that we are equally making a good quality products here and it's international standard as far as Crown is concerned, which I'm talking about because I'm here leader for 64 years. I can tell you one of the tie-up we would like to do, I think 10 years before, where Crown Paints, which is an original company from UK, and when we were talking to them, I said, fine, you want X percentage of license fees from us, so what value addition you will do? So I sent all the products to them for evaluation. And ultimately, out of 10 products, they only came with one product, some suggestion. They can do value additions. It means that my products has the same standard what UK is using. So, after that, there's no point of, paying license fees or consultancy fees because they are not doing any value additions. So, as a Kenya is concerned, I think if you look at all industrialists are here been trying to level best to get the product at the best price. We investing in technology, they're investing in infrastructures, making sure that the products available at affordable price. And I can tell you, I think today we live in a competitive world. If you make a lot of profits, I think definitely someone will come and take your market share, and you will, street. The market dynamics are very different. There are so many young Kenyans, they are very smart businessmen here. They know what, and today is a Google is sitting in there in the world, everyone can Google the price of anything, and you can check what you've been paying. So today, even I go to any client and anything, they know my price, what is my price and what is international market price. And they know the crowd, if you talk about Kenya is 15-20% cheaper if what product we give to the market. So I think we all understand manufacturing is one of the toughest business I can tell you to run, because you have to employ a lot of people, we have to keep on paying the salaries, you have to keep on doing innovations, you keep on improving on the cost, we have to keep on doing research on R&D to bring down the cost down so we can be competitive. So what I would like to say that, it's not that fact that we make a lot of profits, we have to make a reasonable profits to survive the industries. I'm a listed company, so I have to report my profit on Nairobi Stock Exchange. I have many shareholders to answer them, what I did. So overall organizations in the particular Kenya, I don't think that the concept is right that we make a lot of money. We make a very reasonable profit, even less than what people get interest in bond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ken, right next to me, when you brought in this new maybe technology of buying it offline and everything, of course you received resistance, but your pricing also was a big challenge and faced a lot of resistance also, because one argues if I have something on Kenyatta Road or in Roy by Mahiga of 5.5 million, with 5.5 million I should be able to get a piece of land and construct. Are you still receiving this kind of challenges? Are people willing to now come your direction?
Thank you. Anybody who has ever tried to do construction will agree with me that it's not easy. So, yeah, we receive such kind of comments. Whatever you are constructing, I can be able to do it at a cheaper price if I do it on my own plot. But remember one thing, for us, we do gated estates, so you are ensured of the security and other amenities, common amenities. And then, if you are buying your own products from a hardware, and myself, I'm going to the manufacturer direct, you will not get the same price. So for us, it's always about economies of scale. And we are able to give you that affordable home at a very lower price than how you can do it by yourself.
What are the implications of quality? Because again, I could have affordability, but quality. Will I be able to live in that house in the next 20 years?
About the quality, and I agree with my colleagues here that we really need to check on the quality, because next to me is one of our providers. We buy paints from him, and I'm grateful I've met him today. I would say if you don't check on quality, trust you me, once we hand over the house to you as developers, we give you 6 months that guarantee that will be there with you in case of any damages, leakages, will be there to repair. So if we don't check on quality, we will end up spending so much money doing the repairs. So for us, we have a quality control team that each and every material coming to our site, before it is utilized, they have to go through it, they check. If they approve, we are going to use it. If they have any issues, the materials are just returned to the supplier.
E-commerce, and I'll throw it to all of you guys. E-commerce, at least Ken and Mahiga, have seen a lot of activity online. Maybe Vimal, e-commerce, because now things have gone digital. Mr. Rakesh has spoken about me just going to Google and checking up the price of anything. Has e-commerce, as it is right now in the country, has it challenged or has it upheld the way in which you do business?
Yes, it has really benefited us. Most of our, in terms of pricing and everything, it's already there on e-commerce. Anybody can cross-check, catalogs are there, standards, everything. So most of the manufacturers are already on e-commerce platform. At the same time, we have also started encouraging all the standard catalogs, technical specs, to be also uploaded, and most of them have already started uploading on their websites and all that. So any contractor, plumber can also take a reference from there.
Winnie, e-commerce, from where you sit?
Yeah, for us it has also been really nice in terms of customers. They just want to see what is on the platform first. They do Facebook, they do Instagram, they do website, and then the first thing, some of them don't even ask you, they just pop up. I've just come to see your show house, I've just come to the office, I need to see the product, that's it.
Rakesh, from a layman's point of view, look at it. I only interact with Crown Paints when I need to do payment. So do you incorporate e-commerce and the internet in the way you conduct your business?
our digital transformation is our key strategy at the moment, and we have been focusing a lot on e-commerce and on digital strategy. Because now I think the COVID has taught us that you can reach out to people even without meeting personally. So if you really ask us, we've been trying to push very hard. We started e-learning. We've been training people, training architects, training professionals, and I can tell you, like, we've been quite successful of doing our digital strategies and working with our stakeholders. It really helps us. Like, for example, I have like 100,000 painters on my database, which I can able to do a lot of training, online training, able to pass on my knowledge. We can increase the skills of paintings, and we communicate very effectively to them. So make sure that knowledge transformations is a continuous process, and I think digital strategy or digital transformation is a key factor now, because earlier was very conventional way of only meeting people and training people now, but this COVID has taught us how we can use digital technology and the strategy to transform life of people, can give you communication, we can train them, as well as we can market a product very strongly. Yeah.
Okay, definitely we are coming to the end of this conversation. A quick final remark for all of you. I don't know whether I can start with Winnie, or perhaps Ken, who's been fairly silent for this panel, can start, and then we head over to Winnie.
Okay, for me, I really appreciate this platform, and my thing is if the manufacturers and the developers can be able to come together and create a big bond so that they can be able to enjoy discounts, I think that would be the best thing for me. Thank you.
I think for me it comes with new technologies. Kenyans, please, it's important that you actually just look at the technologies that are around, especially in the country. People are doing great things in terms of inventions, their quality, and they actually are looking out for you, providing for you. So this is something that also the developers, as we are looking at it like that, or legislators also need to take it into consideration, that inventions are there, but are they there so that they're in the shelf, or are they there so that they can actually practically and realistically be used?
Vimal, perhaps your final remarks?
Yes, we are here to stay. We are born Kenyans, and I think we really need to support the Kenyan market, manufacturing, local products, everything. So maybe on the challenges, what you are facing, maybe you can refer to us. We will guide you, we will educate you, we will tell you what to buy, what not to buy, which are the quality products, which are the quality manufacturers, and from there you can take a call. But let's create jobs for our Kenyans and stop this importation, tafadhali. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That has been my panel right there. Mr. Rakesh Rao, Chief Executive Officer, Crown Paints. I have also had a great conversation with Vimal Vagela, Chairman, Kenya Plastics and Pipe Manufacturers, and Ken Mugo, Chief Executive Officer, Mahiga Homes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. A round of applause for them, please. A greater round of applause for them, please. Appreciated indeed. Remember, this is the 7th Realty Expo and Conference right here at the Kenyatta International Convention Centre, KICC. We are having a great discussion, and we have been doing this for the past 7 times. I just want to show you what I have out here from the booths, because we're going to be here for 2 days. Remember, we are doing this for the 7th time, and it's important for you to come here and get to interact with the different key players in this sector. Remember, as we continue to say, President Uhuru Kenyatta over his past couple of months, and the last time when he was re-elected in 2017, he requested that we give him a second chance to interact with us, to lead us, to be our president, and just to give us the Big Four agenda. That Big Four agenda has, universal health coverage, has manufacturing, has food security, and it has affordable housing as one of that. And that's what we are taking stock here today on the affordable housing aspect. We have different key players here at KICC. We have right here, I have Centum Reinvestments, have Crown Paints, whose Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Rakesh Rao, was also part of this discussion in my second panel. I have a couple of people around who are here just to say we want to be part of this great discussion. Remember, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta promised us 500 housing units by the end of his term, which comes to an end in August. We've had a chance to speak to the Chief Executive Officer at the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. They are giving that great incentive. They've floated a bond in the market, 1.4 billion shillings, just to be able to enable you, the Kenyan citizen, to be able to own a home. And they're saying they have a fixed interest rate. That's the first time we're hearing that in the country. So it's going to be good, it's going to be big, and it has a very unique payment plan for those investors that are right there. This is the 7th edition of the 254 Realtor Expo, and you need to make your way here at KICC. It's by the Nation Media Group. We'll be here today and we'll be here tomorrow. Remember that Kamjengo you have at home, it needs some tiles. We have people from tiles here. It needs some ceiling. We have some people from ceilings here. You want to start the process of building your own house. How do you start? I just got off a great conversation with Ken Mugo, Chief Executive Officer, Mahiga Homes, who says get your home, and they're giving you a chance to get it off plan. So why not make your way here at the KICC to get to interact with the different players, the financiers, the people that will get you those plots to buy that house. And just in case you just want a house that is already standing, we already have players in the market that are ready to give you an opportunity. I'm going to be taking a quick break, maybe come back and have a quick discussion with anyone who is in this different particular sectors. My name is Brian Mushiri. This is the 7th 254 Realty Expo at the KICC.